Robbins. All right, so today's topic is something I think is very, very important, which is we talk a lot about what we can do to create wealth, what we can do to create our business or our health or, different areas I call the pillars of success. But specifically today, I'm going to talk about your children or your grandchildren and how you build a legacy. So as you guys have heard, what is a legacy, first of all? A legacy is being able to create something that you can pass on, right? So creating something you can pass on, most people equate a legacy to financial. So creating, a lot of wealth that for generations to come, they benefit from the work that you did. But here's the challenge. You've heard that success skips a generation. Do you know why that is? In many cases, it's because your parents or you learn the skill sets. You have a certain pattern of activity. You had to go through certain challenges in your life to grow and to become more. And because of that, you became the person you are today. As they've always said, it's not the goals you achieve, it's the process you had to go through to achieve those goals, right? That's who you become. For me, it's not the money that I've made, it's not the career that I've had, it's not I bought a brand new Escalade this last week. It's not about those things because that rarely lasts a long time. The feeling you get from gaining something or hitting a target typically will last a day, a week, a month, very seldom last longer than a year. So the only thing that makes you happy is truly progressing or having progress. And it's also the success isn't about the object or the thing you accomplished. The success comes into play from, I'm looking at my notes here. One of you guys sent me a message. I don't get it. Okay, perfect. So it's who you become by accomplishing that goal. So how many of you guys would agree with me? Type in the chat window if you agree that it's not about the goal you achieve as much as it is of who you become, knowing that you can create anything that you put in your mind, that you can, as Think and Grow Rich talks about, the Bible talks about in a different way, but the mind of man or woman can conceive and believe he or she can achieve. And so whatever you put in your brain, you can accomplish. And again, for me, it's not about the end result of what I've gotten in any area of my life. It comes down to me knowing that I can create and have whatever I want. The challenge with your children, your grandchildren, is they didn't have to go through the same trials and tribulations in many cases. For my kids, I had the attitude that I don't want my kids to have to struggle as much as I did. That was my initial attitude about my kids. Because I want their life to be better and their life to be easier and have more privileges and be able to travel and do them. My kids have gone on cruises. They've gone to Disney like 5 times. They've done all kinds of amazing things. They came with me to Vegas. But the reality is the gift you can give your children are not any of those things. The gift you can give your children is teaching them how to have, to be your legacy, meaning passing on the knowledge that you have, the wisdom that you have, and letting them go through some of the trials and tribulations to become something better. So how many of you guys would love to know, and again, we boiled this down to, Rachel, by the way, thanks for helping with some of this topic. We boiled this down to 10 different areas that I want to talk about today with you guys. 10 different areas of how to raise your legacy, meaning raise your children or raise your grandchildren. And just so you know, I still work at this. This is a work in progress for me as well. My children, for example, I've got certain kids that are very competitive. They're very easy for me to understand because that's how I am. I've got a couple of kids that aren't as competitive and just kind of go with the flow and enjoy. You have a huge heart, get emotional about things, and that's not how I am. And so I always have to work at these things because each child you have ticks a different way, if you will. So let's start with this as a foundation for this conversation. Again, I want to see you guys commenting in here. Looking at the comments here, scrolling down here, I want to see your comments. It's rare that I'm able to see all the comments in one place. And I want to see you guys commenting on the information. Whether you agree, disagree, again, you're fine either way. But I think this is a conversation worth having. Would you guys all agree with me? This is a conversation that is so important because, as I mentioned, it's not about, imagine creating this amazing legacy and passing down these amazing things to your kids, your grandkids, and watching them, excuse my language, still fuck up their life and not have the full enjoyment of their life for all the hard work you put in and all the time and the energy you put in to creating something amazing. And I'm not just talking financial, I'm talking about every area of your life. And so the conversation today, I want to talk about this specifically, is every area of your child's life or your grandchildren's life, building something measurable, something of value, something that far after we are gone, our generation after generation of generation is benefiting from the work that you're doing. So first I want to talk about this. This is the first part of this topic, the preamble to this. Is the most important thing is you guys have heard the concept of, as far as your children, is that people say, Couple things. Number one is they say, don't just tell your kids what to do, show them what to do. So it's the first thing we've all heard, which is, and also another phrase I like using is what parents do in moderation, children do in excess. Again, what parents do in moderation, children do in excess. So they are looking at you as the example, and they are modeling you. How many times have you had your kids or your grandkids, you say a swear word and you hear them say a swear word, or a way that how many even for your personal life, how many of you had certain things that irritated you about your parents, and now you see yourself and the same things your parents did to you, you're doing to your kids, or the same conversation that you have had with your kids, or the similar conversation your parents had with you? How many of you guys see this happening in your own personal situation? And so, Michael Franquez, I can't take a phone call right now. I'm not sure why you're calling me. That's not how we share it. Just click on share. But how many of you have not had that situation happen? How many of you guys have not had that situation happen to where you've all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm my parents, right? I'm my mother, I'm my father. And your children will feel the same way. Their reticular activating system of what your kids are focusing on is so strong when they're younger, which is why time seems to go a lot slower for them, because they're looking at everything. They're looking at examples of the relationships they're in. They're looking at examples of how you think about money. My parents were amazing, but I had certain things that got ingrained into my head. Like, for example, when I wanted to spend money, who do you think I am, Rockefeller? Or we don't have any money. So I had this attitude of lack, of not having things. And I had to overcome those obstacles. I mean, how many of you guys, have some of the challenges mentally about money or about finances because of the things you grew up with? We all have this baggage of things that came to us because of how we grew up from our parents, our peers, etc. But if you have children or grandchildren, they are looking up to you. They're looking at your example. It's not about what you say. It's about what you are doing. We've all heard it, but yet we don't follow it. So, for example, how many of you tell your kids don't do drugs, but they see you drinking alcohol and getting wasted all the time? How many of you try telling your children things about their habits, how they eat, but you have different habits? How many of you tell your kids that you want them to do chores or do certain things, but they see you being lazy? Right? How many of them see you telling them to have a positive attitude, but hear you bitching about everything? Our kids are looking at us as an example. And what's even more challenging, how many of you guys have teenagers or have had teenagers? Type in the chat window. And the thing is, they are looking at you for incongruency. They are looking at you to validate themselves and to say, basically, validate themselves and unvalidate you as far as you having the authority to tell them what to do. So they are looking at you for congruency. That's the word I want to give you right now at the beginning of this conversation. Is it does not matter what you say to them. What matters is what you do in front of them. They are imitating you. And as I mentioned, in a positive or negative, what parents do in moderation, children do in excess. So if they see you doing certain things, they're going to model that. The relationships you have with your significant other, they're modeling that with how you interact with other people, how you bitch behind the back when you leave your family get together, with how the words you use about being depressed or how you handle getting attention. All of those things are getting passed down to our kids and our grandkids. And you have to be conscious of the things you're doing in front of them. Otherwise, we look at our kids and we wonder why they're the place they are. It's because of the things that they've modeled from us. And they modeled their peers and their teachers and other people, but they've mainly modeled you. And they're looking at you as being the example of the parent. So let's talk about some of these. Actually, I'm going to read this. This is actually kind of cool. This is from Gandhi. And Gandhi, this story I want to read to you. It says, there's a story of a woman in India who was upset that her son was eating too much sugar. No matter how much she chided him, he continued to satisfy his sweet tooth. Totally frustrated, the mother decided to take her son to see the great Gandhi. She approached the great leader respectfully and said, "Sir, my son eats too much sugar. It's not good for his health. Would you please advise him to stop eating it?" Gandhi listened to the woman carefully, turned and spoke to her son. "Go home and come back in 2 weeks." The woman looked perplexed and wondered why he had not asked the boy to stop eating sugar. She took the boy home by the hand and they left. 2 weeks later, the mother returned with the boy. Gandhi mentioned for them to come forward. He looked directly at the boy and said, "Boy, you should stop eating sugar. It's not good for your health." The boy nodded and promised he would continue not continue this bad habit any longer. The boy's mother turned to Gandhi and asked, "Why didn't you tell him that 2 weeks ago when I brought him here to see you?" Gandhi smiled. "Mother, 2 weeks ago, I was still eating sugar myself." This is one of the things that those that actually knew Gandhi said about him, is that he was the most congruent person they had ever met. So Gandhi was not comfortable telling this woman's child to stop eating sugar because he was still eating sugar. And so I'm not saying maybe you have to go to that degree, but I'm saying, again, what you are doing in moderation, children are seeing that and amplifying every single thing you do. And your example is what they are following. So let's talk about some things here that you can do with your kids to make them better. And as you guys know, I'm a firm believer in raising your children as entrepreneurs. I'm a big believer in teaching your children how to think for themselves, look at the world in different ways, push your children past their comfort zone. I'm a big believer in making rock stars and gladiators versus making sheep, which is why I go against the sometimes conventional wisdom. So here's the top 10. Number 1, make them figure shit out. Make them figure shit out. So what I mean by that is it's so easy as parents to coddle our kids and give them answers to things. It's better if they're having to think. In fact, one of the things that I heard, it was actually in an article that I read several months ago, and it was about one of the things that we do wrong with our kids is we give them instant gratification. They don't have to figure things out. They don't have to hit problems and challenges and have to figure out the answers to those problems and challenges. So let them figure their own shit out. Let them figure out what to do. Now, if they're younger or even if they're older, ask them questions to help guide them. Well, if you did know the answer, what would it be? If you did know the answer, where would you find the answer? How would you search for it? What would you do? Teaching them these things of how to figure shit out helps them later in life because they learn to figure shit out. I see so many parents, they coddle their kids too much. You know, it's like, for example, you got to find that happy medium between, have you ever seen the kid that barely gets, stubs his toe and he's screaming and crying like it's the end of the world, but you know he really didn't get hurt? He does that for attention because you've coddled him. You see another child who trips and falls and busts their lip open and 2 seconds later they're playing again. That's because their parents didn't coddle them the same way. This is in every area of your life. You cannot protect them. You cannot put them in a bubble. If you do put them in a bubble, that's the whole concept of how your children, if they get to a certain point in their life where they can go out on their own, it's like a spring, right? That spring just pops open. That's what happens to so many kids is we've coddled them and protected them so long, not letting them figure their own shit out, not maybe directing them to help them find the right answers, but we don't let them figure things out. You've got to do that. Number 2, let them fail a lot. Let them fail a lot and teach them about failure. And that failure is simply the result. If you don't like that result, you simply come back to the drawing board and tweak your actions. Let them hear the stories of the most successful people on the planet and the trial and error approach they had to go through. You know, Thomas Edison, 1,000+ light bulbs. Disney going bankrupt a couple of times. All of the failures people have had lets them understand that that's what life is. If you want to have an entrepreneur, they're going to have to understand failure is going to happen and get good at failing quicker. Because successful people make fast decisions. They fail over and over and over again, but they learn from those failures versus standing on the fence. Don't let your kids be a fence sitter and not make a decision, be indecisive. Make them jump off. I'd rather have them jump off and massively fail because they'll figure their shit out a lot faster and come back to being successful a lot quicker. So let them fail a lot is number 2. Number 3, let kids make decisions. Let them make decisions. You know, kids sometimes get overwhelmed. There's too many choices, too many options. Let them make their own decisions. Now, again, you can craft this, you can direct this, but you've got to let them make decisions because decision making is one of the, if I look at the most successful people that I've studied, they make decisions quickly. What they do is they assimilate all the information as fast as they can. They get the informed information. They make a quick decision. And that is one of the common denominators with successful people. If you can usually tell, I always love going out to eat with people. I can tell whether they're indecisive or not, whether they're a leader or not, based upon if they ever can order. Well, I don't know what I should get. What are you getting? I don't know what I should do. And the person comes, they're still looking at the menu. My mentor used to hammer on me. When we go out to eat together, he would say, listen, you need to have your order ready within about five seconds. Look at your menu quick and place your order. He was huge on making quick decisions. So if you know that successful people make quick decisions after they assimilate all the information, then you need to teach that to your kids. Let them make decisions on things. Again, you can ask them questions to help them think and help them craft. And let's look at if you make that decision, what can happen. But the reality is you've got to let them make decisions. You don't know whether it's a right or wrong decision. If you're simply dropping the hammer on them when you see everything they do wrong, they're not going to come to you. Let them make decisions. Let them fail fast. Next, number 4 is teach constructive ways to challenge the status quo. Again, teach constructive ways to challenge the status quo. Children, here's the problem that I have with traditional education. Traditional education goes against every single thing I've learned over the years of being an entrepreneur, being a leader, being a lion, not being a sheep. What are kids taught? Stand in line. When you sit down in the classroom, don't speak unless you're spoken to. Raise your hand and wait for someone to call on you. That shit does not work in the real world. You will get left behind. Your lunch will get eaten. Imagine in a business if you were that way. Those that own businesses, am I not true? Is this not true? Is that if you're sitting there and, just going with the grain, going with the flow and, you follow the leader, next person, here's a quick example. I think Rachel and Caleb will laugh about this. So we took our kids to a movie, this weekend, and Caleb and Rachel went as well. There's a humongous line right in the middle and somebody taking the orders, which we would have been late to our movie. We got there right when the movie's supposed to start. And somebody had opened up another line over on the left side, and somebody was already in line getting their order. And there actually is 4 lines at the movie theater, 4 different lines. So what did I do? I walked straight up to the line that one person was already there, and we got our popcorn and drinks. And other people were kind of upset. The guy came behind me that had been waiting in line, and it comes down to, you're a sheep, and Rachel actually mentioned this, the sheep mentality is people just follow the next person. They don't realize, they don't look around them. I'm always looking for the opening. I'm always looking for, I'll give an example. We came back from a cruise here about 2 years ago, a company cruise, and the cruise ship had come back around the same time, or the cruise ship came back around that same time, and there literally was, I guess Rachel, Bree, anyone else watching this that was there, tell me if Caleb, if I'm not exaggerating, is that was probably, I'm going to guess, like a block and a half long. There was a humongous line outside even to get your luggage in, and I knew we had about 35 bags, and I knew we weren't going to make our flight in time. So I let everybody stand in line. I walked all the way to the front, walked up to the gentleman. I said, here's $100. We're going to miss our flight if we're not getting into here. Would you mind helping us make sure that we get into our flight? This guy brings a huge cart, walks all the way over, piles all 30-some bags on one huge cart, walks right in front of everybody, and goes in and checks us in. It's about being smarter. Don't just be a follower. Think of ways outside the box. My son Riley is an example. Riley, what are those called, those things that you're buying? U2s. I've never heard of those, but they're called U2s. They're these things you found online that are very limited. Are the characters of who? Of famous people. They make characters, right? So I love this entrepreneurial thinking. So there's little characters. And so he knows they're limited amount, they sell out almost immediately. And so what he did is he went in and found a way to create this little reminder system that goes in and scrapes that website to see when people return one of those, so he can go in and buy it before anybody else does. And so he turns around, he buys them, and then he sells, or he puts them on eBay. And how much have you made, or how much you haven't sent them all out yet? So basically doubling his money every single time he does it. That's the key with your kids, is teaching them to be entrepreneurial. And that's the other thing that on this list is, I don't even have this on the list, is you can't squash their dreams. As you know, when you were a kid, even a kid today, you take a kid and you give them a cardboard box, right, that you got from something that you had shipped to you, a big box, and you give them, from that box, some markers, and you give them a blanket. They are literally within a couple of minutes, Batman in a Ferrari, right? Wonder Woman in a Ferrari. They dream. They create ideas. What we've done is we've been dream killers. Grow up. That's not going to work. That's stupid. We tell our kids this stuff all the time. We want them to dream. We want them to think outside the box. You can't stifle those dreams, those visions they have, because that is the exact thing you want them to do. You want them to be unreasonable. Think about all the success. I could give you numbers of people that say what you're doing was not reasonable at the time. Was it reasonable for Elon Musk to dump in his remaining $34 million he had left from selling PayPal and dump it all into Tesla when Tesla was about 3 weeks from going under? 3 weeks of payroll until they were going to go under. Was that reasonable? Was it reasonable for Walt Disney to go out after 2 bankruptcies and go in and create an amazing theme park, basically a huge fair everyone thought was crazy? You know, the thing is, he was unreasonable. You've got to be unreasonable if you want to be amazing. Now, I'm not saying, you know, don't ask questions to help them think through the decisions they're making or what they think. Like my daughter Jaslyn had this idea a couple of years ago. She was going to use the wealth that I've created and use it towards building Pokemon, making them in real life and helping people, right? She had these ideas. Did I tell her that's stupid? That's dumb? No. I'm like, that sounds great. So how would you build them? What would you do? You know, Maximus has these ideas of being an inventor and inventing cool things. You've got to create this dream motivator versus dream killer. You've got to motivate your kids. Is this true, guys? Tell me some stories about your own kids. Okay. Number 5, realize that emotions are contagious. Emotions are contagious. Are you fighting in front of your kids? Are you bitching in front of your kids all the time? They're seeing you do all this stuff. They're listening to you and how you interact with people. Are you complaining about being sick all the time? Are you complaining about finances all the time? They are learning from you. Even if you're trying to fake it, your emotions are contagious. You know, I talk about getting in a peak state. You got to be in a peak fucking state in front of your kids. You've got to be in a peak state in front of your kids. You've got to be certain, and you've got to show them from example what you're doing. Number 6, teach them to be all around healthy. All around healthy. Now, healthy can be various things. It can be getting enough sleep. So first of all, understand something. Kids want structure. They can fight you all day long. They want structure. I always argue with people that tell me, well, my kids, all they want to eat is chicken nuggets and mac and cheese and hot dogs. That's because you gave them those choices. You allowed them to choose. If I gave my kids every single day Halloween candy and asked them if they wanted the Halloween candy or if they want something healthy, they're going to have the Halloween candy. If I said, you want a teaspoon of sugar, do you want some vegetables, what are they going to eat? That is your choice. You've created that. When you have shit in the pantry, they're going to find shit to eat. If you're not making meals, they're going to find food around your house. If you're eating fast food all the time, they're going to eat fast food all the time. I mean, we act like this is rocket science. It's not. Do you realize if you're overweight, right? I fight all the time. If you're overweight, chances are your kids are going to be overweight. Now, you can say it's hereditary. They've done studies that they estimate roughly 20% of it is hereditary. The other 80% your fucking mindset and the food you're putting in your body and how you're working out. We have to teach our kids to be overall healthy. And the first way you do that is by you doing that. You can't tell them to go work out. You can't tell them to do sports. You can't tell them to eat healthy, and you're not doing it. They are watching everything you do. So you got to teach them to be overall healthy. You got to teach them when to go to bed. You need to limit their time on gadgets and games. You know, my kids, if they have a choice, they'll play games all day long and half the night if we let them do that. So we do things where we lock their internet down. You can get a product, I think it's like $100 called My Circle. It's one of the best ones out there, I think, from Disney. I know Google has another product. But My Circle's great because you pick which apps, what the kids are doing. You lock it down at a certain time. They have to ask for more game time. It locks them down at a certain time of the day. Their Netflix, their YouTube, their everything they're doing. You can see exactly what they're doing. You've got to inspect what you expect. You know, I'm busy all the time. If I'm not around my kids, I don't realize they're hiding in the corner playing on their iPad for 13 hours, you know? It's a great babysitter, but it's not teaching them anything. You've got to let your kids get bored so they start thinking outside the box. When I was a kid, of course, we didn't have all the video game stuff. It was out, but we didn't have the money to get it. But we would go find crazy things to build, things to do. We would take two chairs and put them together, and maybe another chair and put a blanket over it, make a tent. We would do all kinds of things. You've got to let your kids get bored. You've got to let them get bored. And you can't shift it overnight. You can't say, my kid, all they eat is mac and cheese and hot dogs and chicken nuggets and French fries and McDonald's and switch it overnight. But you've got to slowly make the decisions that are different. And they will eat what you put in front of them. They can say they won't. I promise you they will get hungry. I'll promise you they'll eat whatever you have in front of them if you have no other choices in the house. Lock your pantry if you have to. Now, why am I saying this? Because it is life or death. It's life or death for how they think. It's life or death for the fuel in their body, the fuel in their brain, their energy levels, and how they're going to pass your legacy on generation after generation. Am I making any sense here? Do you guys agree or disagree with me on all this stuff? You've got to do this stuff. Number 7, vision boards. You know how I talk about creating a vision board? This is so important that your kids are motivated to have things, to grow, to have dreams, have goals and visions. Create a vision board. Create a dream board with your kids so they have goals for the year. They have goals of things they want to accomplish, goals they want to see, and then create family paths to get those goals. So they realize this is how things are done. Dennis Lugo may not, I don't think he'll mind me using him as an example. He sent me a message on Facebook, I think it was on Friday or Thursday, and said, you keep talking about creating this vision board and keep talking about, creating your dream and really dreaming of what you want and setting goals. I don't know what I want. I don't know. No one's ever taught me this stuff. It was so actually painful to me when I first started doing this when I was 18, 19, 20 years old. And now you ask me what I want. I'm like, you're the genie, and I could talk for hours about all the amazing things I want in my life. But most people can't do that because they've been taught to do that. What's even worse yet is they go to college and high school, they get a job with a company that's maybe their first job, they get another job, they go through college, they get another career, and they stay in that career for the rest of their lives, and they just quit dreaming. They quit having goals. They back their lifestyle down to meet their income, to match their income. They back their lifestyle down to fit within their income level versus raising their income to create a bigger lifestyle. And that's what most people do. And your kids are watching that, right? And what ends up happening is we quit dreaming. We quit having goals and aspirations. Your kids are watching you, and you should be doing these things with your kids. Number 8, avoid jumping in. Don't give them a lifeline so quickly. Make them think about things. Make them fail. Make them learn from their mistakes. You've got to do these things if you want your kids to have the growth that you've had. I can go back in my life and look at the dozens and dozens of things that I hit a brick wall with, the things that I said enough is enough. I will never go back. I will never retreat. I'm going to go forward. And I had those things that happened in my life that made me draw the line in the sand and say never again. And I'm going to move forward. If you don't give those gifts to your kids, they're not going to be the same people. And your legacy is going to stop at you. Maybe part of a generation, and that's it. You can say, well, my kids are older. You can still do the same. I promise you. People will get motivated by seeing you motivated, by you out doing things. They will emulate you. You can pick some 5 random people and hang around those 5 random people for the next year, and you will be within 5% of their income in most cases. You will have the same attitude they have in most cases because we are creatures of our surroundings. If you want to step your kids up, your grandkids up, step up your own shit. Number 9 is help them find mentors. Help them find other kids that are doing things in their same age. Help them find mentors. I'm very selective in my kids who they have as friends. You've got to be selective in who your kids hang out with. Let them hang around with your friends if they're meant to powerful people. Let them hang around with their kids if they're doing things. There's the same thing for your kids is they are who they surround themselves with. Which is why I always talk about the importance of finding mentors in every area of your life. Find these mentors, the people they can plug into and learn and grow from. And number 10 is encourage them to read. Encourage them to read. Is leaders or readers? I promise you the average, most successful person that I know that's worth, let's say, $500 million on up, they read an average of 1 book a week. And they've done all kinds of studies that your kids, even if they're reading science fiction, they're so much further ahead in intellect and how they assimilate things and how they interact in the world than people that don't. Again, don't take my word for it. Search this stuff up. Dig into it. So this is the main theme of the conversation today. I hope you guys got something out of it. What I want to do now is I want to play a video. Now, this video actually gets me very emotional because this video is something that played at an event that I was at. And it's actually a commercial, believe it or not. And this video it got me emotional because I think about my own life and the example that I'm giving my kids. And you have an option to be a fucking amazing parent, a fucking amazing grandparent, somebody who sets the standard, sets the bar. And as I mentioned, if your family tree isn't where you want it to be, take that branch off and plant it back in the ground and create your own family tree from you forward. Create your legacy. What we're talking about today is passing that legacy on by the example you're giving your kids. So I'm going to play this video. I think you guys are going to love this. Really makes you think of why it's important to build a legacy. And we'll let Instagram roll on this, and we'll come back at the end. We'll cut this out for the people on Instagram. Give me 1 second. Here we go.
Okay. Daddy is the sweetest daddy in the world. is the most handsome, the smartest, the most clever, the kindest. He is my Superman. Daddy wants me to do well at school. Daddy is just great, but he lies. He lies about having a job. He lies about having money. He lies that he's not tired. He lies that he's not hungry. He lies that we have everything. He lies about his happiness. He lies because of me.
So the question is, what legacy are you going to leave for your kids? Are you going to teach them from your habits? Are you going to be someone who puts on a face and does what you have to do to help your kids see how amazing life can be and to help them dream and set goals and have aspirations and have dreams? Or are you going to be a dream killer? Are you going to be the person who doesn't allow your kids a dream and tell them to wake up, tell them to grow up, tell them to, that's childish? Are you going to be the kind of parent who motivates your child and who they want to be, even when they're, 15, 16, 17, 18, 25 years old? Are you someone they want to be like and they're going to remember? Or are you someone who's going to be lazy and just roll through life and care about yourself and not care about the legacy you have the ability to build? All right, I appreciate you guys. Have an awesome week. We'll talk to you guys next Monday. Bye, everybody.